speculation around Julian Lewis's commitment to USC has been heating up, and we've been talking a lot about it on this show, actually. We had Chad Simmons, director of recruiting, on. We've had Auburn insiders. We've had Georgia insiders on, and today we're talking to USC insider Scott Schrader. We're going to break it all down, talk some Trojan recruiting today. But first, USC fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. It's a long offseason. We're going to be here talking recruiting all offseason long. So do me a favor and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on Scott Schrader from We Are SC. And Scott, Lewis has been taking some visits now. Colorado, Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama. It makes me want to think, when's the last time he's been to USC?
I think, the last time he may have actually been to USC could have been a year ago in June when they were having the summer camps, and he was out there and he was talking to a lot of the guys in his recruiting class at that time, a class of 2026. And I don't think he's been back to USC since. I know he's got plans to come back, but it has been quite a while, and he's taken several visits, as you've alluded to other schools since then.
Yeah, and so about 6 or 8 weeks ago, he announced that he's reclassifying from the 26 class up to the 25. And now Lewis had already been committed to the Trojans when he made that announcement. And really, he's from Carrollton, Georgia. So really, from the minute he committed, there's always been some kind of rumors about a potential decommitment. But how legit are these recent rumors and concern for USC fans over the commitment of Julian Lewis?
Well, I mean, I think the reality is, you can't just look at this situation and just go, well, he just wants to get his visits in, and he's just doing what he needs to do to take care of business and make sure that he's set up in case something goes wrong at USC and all this. But I think there's got to be legit concerns when you're taking multiple visits to Georgia, even to Alabama, Ohio State,
right?
Now Indiana. I'm sure there's Colorado. I think got a visit too, right?
Colorado got a visit.
So, he's taking these visits. I think there's really only a few schools that would probably, compete with Lincoln Riley, what he offers at USC, and Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State are certainly among them. So I think, the conversations I have is that USC's not expecting a decommitment, but at the same time, they understand that, it wouldn't shock them if that ultimately happens. But at this moment, USC is not sitting around waiting for Julian Lewis to decommit.
Okay. So how important is it for Julian Lewis to make it to campus this spring?
I think it's very, very important that he does do that. I think when you're on the side of the country and located where he currently is, you got to get him back on campus and get him kind of feeling what it's like to be at a school that he's committed to. And I just think the more that a quarterback like him is around Lincoln Riley, the better as well. There's always been stories about Riley at the end of recruiting processes, getting those in-home visits and how impactful those still can be. And I think, well, if he can get Julian Lewis, Juju on campus, at least a couple of times before the official visit in June, which is I think when he'll take it, I think that's vital.
Yeah. So looking at USC's commitment list, it doesn't consist of much beyond Julian Lewis. Actually, Julian Lewis is the only Trojan commitment in the 2025 cycle. So, Scott, do you think that Julian Lewis's indecisiveness is kind of slowing the growth of this class, or is there bigger issues?
I think. Look, after the 2022 season, Lincoln Riley made a decision to keep Alex Grinch as his defensive coordinator. So kind of like the decline with recruiting kind of coincided with that as the season went on. And I think now you're dealing with a lot of, USC has one of the most impressive defensive coaching staffs in the country now. But a lot of these guys don't know Doug Belt. They don't know Eric Henderson. It's not taking them long to get to know these guys, but I think there's a familiarity that these guys are lacking right now, maybe with the staff from how they vibe with these guys on a personality level. So I think that's holding USC back as much as anything. That doesn't explain why there's not more commitments on the offensive side, but I do think you're going to see a few of those coming up in the upcoming weeks, or at least by the end of March. But I don't think it's really impacting negatively USC recruiting. But when he is all in, it will positively impact recruiting greatly.
I agree, because all around the country, QB dominoes are falling, and you and I both know QBs end up kind of being the pillar of the class. It's the foundation which everything else is built on. And when you got Julian Lewis taking visits, looking around, living on the other side of the country at the same time, it kind of brings in some indecisiveness there. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of Lincoln Riley, does he have a backup plan if Lewis decides to decommit from USC?
Yeah, that's a question that we get asked often, and I'm certain that there is a backup plan, but right now they're all in on him. Class of 2025. They actually, I'm not sure. This is probably terrible that I don't know this for sure, but I'm not sure they've offered another class of 2025 quarterback.
Okay.
But it's not. Names have not been brought up in conversations I've had with USC people on a plan B, but it's certainly something that we're going to be asking about here as we get closer to spring ball.
Yeah, and we're in the dead period right now. It ends on March 3rd. I think visits can start again on March 4th or 5th. And then, like you said, spring ball, the eval period begins in May. Lincoln Riley, or not Lincoln Riley, but his staff can get out on the road and go eval quarterbacks again and maybe make some new offers. We'll see what happens there. What do you think is the biggest priority? What's the biggest need for USC in 2025? Is it quarterback or is it another position?
They definitely need to get a quarterback. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not sure. I'm sure if you ask Lincoln Riley, that's going to be a top priority every single year for him. But if we're honestly looking at the USC roster right now and where they really need to ramp up their recruiting efforts, I would say it's in California, maybe Southern California specifically, and with linebackers. And it just so happens 2025 is a year where three of their top linebacker prospects in Noah McHale and Madden Ferriamo and Cody Smith from Northern California, outside linebacker, really. But those three guys are three of the top players that USC is recruiting at the linebacker position, and I think it's vital that they get those kind of guys in this cycle. And then defensive line is another big need. Not as big as it was because they really did a great job this offseason, but I would say just still adding to the defensive front seven is huge.
All right. Well, Scott Schrader with WeAreSC. Thanks for coming on the Inside Scoop and breaking down this Julian Lewis situation. I know it's kind of a work in progress, and every week we'll bring up something new. But, Scott, thanks for dropping by today on the Inside Scoop.
Thank you, Josh. Keep doing a great job, guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.